So, the spoilers are out for My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 409, and let's just say that from what we're getting with the leaks, this is going to be a very bombastic chapter. Bakugo versus All For One may come to an end in this chapter, and you'll get to see why that's the case, but first, right after this. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Manga Andrew, and I'm here to do and cover the spoilers for the leaks that we have for the most recent chapter of My Hero Academia, specifically Chapter 409. And like I was saying, from what we see with the chapter spoilers and the leaks, this chapter is going to be very much the potential conclusion of the battle between Bakugo and All For One, or just the battle with All For One completely. And we're going to get a little bit more understanding of how this is going to be going down based off the text spoilers, as well as a few images that are going to be floating around within this video. So let's just dive right into the spoilers and the leaks and see what's going to be going on with Chapter 409. And to start off, the title of the chapter is going to be called Chapter 409, Quirk! Explosion. Very much being in relation to Bakugo's quirk, which is, guess what? Explosion. And the chapter is going to begin with Bakugo's birth. Mitsuki smiles as she looks at the baby while Masaru cries. We then see some flashbacks of him, such as him bullying Deku, him saying that he'll get stronger after their second fight, and him saying that his quirk is strong. Back to the present, and Bakugo thinks to himself, Izuku, I won't mess with you anymore. All For One launches his attack, but Bakugo shouts burst, and an explosion hits All For One, causing him to fall to the ground, but he's confused because Bakugo hasn't moved. Bakugo flies towards All For One and starts explaining since the rain affects his quirk, he covered up the explosive sweat drops with normal sweat drops. He then threw those drops into All For One's mouth at the end of Chapter 406 and waited for them to explode when he attacked back. All For One can't believe he's been outsmarted, and Bakugo says that he's always been very clever. He doesn't need a lot of quirks, explosion is more than enough. All For One realizes that the explosion has messed with his attack and that he needs to activate it once again. All For One shouts, "This is my story, you side character," and what follows is a double-page spread of howitzer impact, a double-page spread of several explosions in a row, and 2 more pages of explosions while Bakugo shouts, "Shut up." And from this part of the text spoilers, this is where we're getting more into the actual conflict between Bakugo and All For One, as well as getting some characterization most likely for Bakugo, as we're getting more of the flashbacks to scenes that we've already seen, as well as some scenes that we didn't see, aka Bakugo's birth, but also just re-establishing that Bakugo is a changed person, but not to the point where his entire personality and his character is completely different. Yes, he respects Izuku more, but he still has that pompous attitude that he will always have, which defines who Bakugo is. And the fact that we're going to be getting multiple double-page spreads really just shows how much Horikoshi is putting into these chapters when it most likely comes to the artwork itself, and how this double-page spreads are going to really emphasize the power between both Bakugo's explosion and All For One using all of his quirks. And how this is most likely going to be emphasizing how All For One is once again underestimating his opponent. And with this, we're going to go into the next and the final part of the text spoilers, because this chapter is relatively short, even though it's going to have 15 pages, but most of those pages are going to be primarily action as well as double-page spreads with not that much dialogue that we can really gleam into. But this part of the text spoilers actually has some interesting information that is going to really be the pinnacle of why All For One is going to be defeated. Because the next line of text spoilers says that All For One feels that the quirk factors are not working as they should, and that's not just due to the explosions. Is it because my body has become too small and fragile? That's when we see that All For One is now a child inside the Vestige world too. That's when Hawks' quirk Vestige shows up and says that all that anger has caused All For One to lose control of the Vestiges and the quirks. Thanks to this, Hawks was even able to hold a fan meeting. All of the other vestiges are fanboying and fangirling over him. At the end of the day, Shigaraki led to your downfall, says Hawks, while sticking out his tongue. All Might comments that the physical and mental damage that everyone caused on All For One has finally paid off. This is our story, shouts Bakugo. The last double-page spread shows All Might, Mitsuki, Masura, and Yoichi watching the battle. After his last big explosion, Bakugo says, "I'd never have been able to defeat you all by myself." End of chapter. Break next week. And there's a lot of stuff that we can dive into a little bit with this part of the tech spoilers and from the leaks that we're getting with this chapter. Once again, getting more double page spreads, which is awesome, but we're even getting more emphasis on the idea that the reasoning why All For One is failing is not just because of what happened with Tomo Shigaraki, but also the combination and the teamwork of all of the heroes working together to do damage after damage after damage that will lead All For One to be in a state where he cannot win. And even Bakugo comes to this realization, which is something that Bakugo in the past, earlier on in the story, would not have accepted and admitted upright. But even he realizes that he needed help to defeat All For One, which is going to tie into a lot of the bigger themes of My Hero Academia when it comes to teamwork and heroism. So it's cool that we're going to most likely have that be the resolution for All For One, and that unfortunately maybe Tomo Shigaraki is not going to be the one to deliver the final blow, but they do emphasize that the reasoning why he's being defeated is because of Tomer, so that idea still lingers a little bit there. Also, I think I'm going to enjoy the fact that we're going to get a little bit more Hawks within this final confrontation than we kind of would have thought was going to be the case, but it makes sense for Hawks as his character, even when it came to their initial fight and their confrontation, because he was the one that was always antagonizing All For One, while All For One really couldn't get under his skin that much. But yeah, that's pretty much all the spoilers and the leaks that we have for this chapter of My Hero Academia. And let me ask you this, what did you think of the chapter? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? And what was your favorite double page spread of what I might have shown? Leave your thoughts down below, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this. Do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in my next video. Goodbye!